Hello and welcome. Today we will talk about different forms of pay. There are a variety of different returns that workers receive from their work. These returns are traditionally categorized as either total compensation or relational returns. When it comes to the total returns for work, keep in mind that it is inclusive of the total compensation as well as the relational returns. So the total compensation includes cash compensation as well as benefits. So these cash compensations could be your base pay, the merit pay or cost of living upgrades, the short-term incentives as well as the long-term incentives. The benefits could be inclusive of protection, work-life balance, and any other allowances that you afford to your employees in order to keep them happy and to retain them at your company as opposed to them seeking employment elsewhere. In that relational returns relates to the recognition and status that an employee sees or perceives getting from his or her employment. The overall security that employees associated with their jobs in careers into the future. The fact that they take pride in achieving something that they could not have done by themselves or without the organization. And ultimately, it's about the learning opportunities that we get that provides not just security and status, but it gives us obviously the feeling that this organization affords me development opportunities for the future. So it provides some element of certainty that I'm learning. Therefore, I would be a value-added employee even when things change dramatically into the future. As we're looking into the pay model, again, keep in mind that total returns for the work that we do as workers and obviously as managers, it's your role to make this as fruitful for your employees as possible. Total compensation are returns which are transactional in nature, and they can include the pay that is received directly as cash, like your base salary, merit increases, incentives, or even cost of living adjustments. It also includes indirect payments or benefits, which can include your pension, your medical insurance, your health coverage, or the programs that help balance work and life demands at any given time. So that is total compensation, your direct pay as well as your indirect benefits that you receive. On the other hand, relational returns are psychological and they include recognition and status, employment security, learning opportunities, in challenging work, and so on that you derive from your workplace. So you see some people go to work and they're happy, they cannot wait to get to work. They wake up early to prepare to go to work. On the other hand, when we lose that motivation, unfortunately, the return, at least the psychological return, seems to be much lower. So your compensation can come in the form of cash or base salary. Base wage is the cash compensation that the employer pays for work that we as workers would perform. It reflects value of work or skills and generally ignores differences attributable to the individual workers. In the US, salary generally refers to pay that is given to those employees who are considered exempt from regulations of the Fair Labor Standards Act and are exempt from overtime pay. So when I was a manager, for example, in the corporate arena, I did not get overtime pay. I got one salary and that was it. Whether I work 80 hours a week or whether I work 20 hours a week, it didn't matter. My salary was exactly the same. However, when I got promoted to a department assistant manager from a full-time employee, I did receive a base salary, but I also received an incremental per hour pay beyond 40 hours. So that was assistant manager, but when I got into department manager, it was all just basically one salary, no incentives other than basically getting bonuses at the end of the quarter, 4 times a year, or sometimes year-end bonus as well. On the other hand, non-exempt employees are those whose pay is calculated on hourly basis. So salary is calculated on an annual or monthly rate. Rather than dividing employees into separate categories of salaried and wage earners, some organizations and firms believe that an all salaried workforce reinforces the organizational culture where all employees part of the same team. Companies like IBM, for example, and even Walmart executives tend to believe in that view that everybody should be salaried, but nonetheless, obviously they would pay by hour as well. So we had cash compensation, which we considered the base salary. We also have cash compensation that comes from merit increases or bonuses or even cost of living adjustments. A cost of living adjustments to base wages may be based on changes in what other employers are paying for the same work in the industry, or it could be based on changes in the living cost or changes in experience or skill of the specific employee. So the more of experience you get, the more things you can do. Hopefully you get an increase or a cost of living adjustment as a result of the additional training certificate or acquired skill. Merit increases are given as increments to the base pay and are based on performance. Companies increasingly use merit bonuses. These are based on performance ratings but are paid in the form of a lump sum rather than becoming a permanent part of the base salary. Incentives tie pay increases to performance. However, incentives differ from merit adjustments. An incentive program relies on an objective measure of performance like sales, usually in a formula-based pay. However, the merit increase program typically relies on subjective rating of performance by their supervisors. So incentives do not increase the base wage and must be re-earned each pay period. The potential size of incentive payments is usually known beforehand. This way employees know if I work 2 extra hours or get 2 extra sales, I could actually increase my overall income for the week or for the month because of those incentives. Whereas traditionally merit pay programs evaluate past performance of a person and then decide on the size of the increase. What must happen in order to receive the incentive payment is called out very specifically ahead of time. For example, a Toyota salesperson knows the commission he or she will earn on a Land Cruiser versus a Prius prior to actually guiding a customer toward one or toward the other. He or she knows that one of them will lead him or her to a bigger bonus or incentive as a result of that sale. While both merit pay and incentive try to influence performance, incentives explicitly try to influence future behavior, whereas merit recognizes reward of past behavior, which is hoped to influence future behavior. The incentive reward distinction is obviously a matter of timing. Incentives can be tied to performance of an individual employee, a team of employees, a total business unit, or some combination of the individual, the team, in the unit. The performance objective may be expense reduction, volume increases, customer satisfaction, revenue growth, return on investment, an increase in stock value. So the possibilities are endless in terms of what specific goals you're trying to achieve. Because incentives are a one-time payment, they do not permanently increase labor costs. So managers like that element of it. When performance declines, incentive pay automatically declines with it. So overall, incentives, similar to sometimes merit bonuses as well, are frequently referred to as variable pay. And you can have long-term incentives or short-term incentives. Long-term incentives are intended to focus on the employee's effort on a multi-year result and are in the form of stock ownership, or they can be options to buy stock at a fixed price. The belief is that employees with a financial stake in the company will focus on long-term financial objectives like return on investment, market share, return on net assets, and obviously other variables that are being calculated or measured on a regular basis. Now let us look at benefits. Benefits, including income protection, work-life services, and allowances, are part of the total compensation that employees receive at any given time. Some income protection programs are legally required, at least in the US, in most European countries, where employers must pay into a fund that provides income replacement for workers who become unemployed or have a disability during their employment tenure. In the United States, employers generally make half the contributions to Social Security. Medical insurance, retirement programs, life insurance, and saving plans are all common forms of benefits. They tend to help protect employees from financial risks which are inherent in our daily lives. Benefits can include work-life balance. Programs that help employees integrate their work and life responsibilities can include time away from work, like vacation, jury duty, and so on. Access to services to meet specific needs like drug counseling, financial planning, as well as having a flexible work arrangement program like telecommuting, non-traditional schedules, non-paid time off, which has allowed many workers in today's environment to keep earning a salary while they're being impacted by the COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic for many weeks, or in some cases for a month or two in parts of the United States. Benefits can include allowances. So allowances often grow out of whatever is in the short supply. For example, housing and transportation allowances are frequently part of pay packages for Chinese workers, and Chinese companies are trying to offer those to recruit and retain employees from far, far cities of where they're actually operating within China. Now let us talk about relational returns from work. These are the non-financial returns from work which have a substantial effect on our behavior as employees. Relational returns from work can include such elements as recognition and status, employment security, having challenging work that motivates you, and opportunities to continuously learn and become more than what you are today, not just to your company, but to the entire industry or to your profession. Other forms of relational returns might include personal satisfaction from successfully facing very, very challenging assignments, or teaming with great coworkers, and even receiving new uniforms in some cases, or being involved in a very good project that you take pride in. So these factors are part of the total return, which is obviously much broader umbrella than the total compensation. We can also view the organization as a network of returns. It is useful to view an organization as a network of returns that are created by all the different forms of pay, including total compensation and relational returns. The challenge, however, is to design this network so that it helps the organization to succeed both short-term as well as long-term by being competitive and sustainable in the market. With regards to the pay model, please pay close attention to the various elements of this comprehensive model related to the policies, to the techniques and to the overall objectives, which are explained in the first chapter. But keep in mind that the model continues throughout all the chapters in the textbook. So try to understand the various parts or various elements of this model related to the three elements of policies, techniques, and objectives. So as you're reading future chapters, you can see how it fits into the overall comprehensive pay model. In terms of policies, you can see that the authors focus on alignment, competitiveness, contributions in management elements. And with regards to the techniques, you can see that all those policy elements here should be linked to the internal structure of the organization, to the pay structure, to the incentive programs offered, in how the evaluation model takes place with regards to the pay policies in the techniques that are being used. Ultimately, these policies and techniques should be aligned with the overall objectives of the pay model, focusing on efficiency, fairness, compliance, and ethics. So also the efficiency has the components of performance, quality, customer, and stockholder in the overall cost. Again, this comprehensive model goes from left to right, but the idea here is that the pay model of any organization, the policies, the techniques, and the objectives should all be aligned with the overall strategic mission and vision of the organization. So if we're paying people a little bit more compared to the market rate, those objectives hopefully will produce obviously some sort of competitive advantage that can be sustained over time. Ultimately, as an academician or a consumer of information or a master of business, we need all of you to be an informed research consumer. So anytime you read a study, an article that has been conducted by academicians or practitioners, as you're reading this academic research, think about the following questions that the authors mention for you. Is the research useful? If so, how useful are the variables? Does the research measure anything useful? How well are they measured? Does the study separate correlation from causation? Keep in mind that correlation coefficient indicates how changes in one variable relate to changes in another. Many academic studies do use regression analysis, but we need to be obviously a critical and informed consumer of research. Are there alternative explanations? The best way to establish causation is to account for competing explanations, either statistically or through control groups. Look at the overall patterns of evidence and judge the effects of pay on people's behavior. Are you getting the type of performance that you need to get in order to have a sustainable competitive advantage in the market? Are you getting the type of employees as a result of your pay system that you need in order to survive and to gain a competitive advantage over time? Overall, be an informed research consumer. Good luck.